Good morning and welcome to the Sports Debate Show podcast. I am BA. I'm here with Jack Hirsch and James Martin. I hope you are doing fine this morning. This is our first show. Is this our first show? No, it's not our first show. Wow, I'm a way off. But anyway, welcome to 2026 and this debate show. We have some good debates this morning, and we are going to start it off with this question here. Of all the NFL head coaching vacancies, which job is the most attractive? Go ahead there, Jack. I'm go with you first.
Yeah, I think all of them are attractive to an extent. I really do. I mean, they all have pluses, they all have minuses. You could go in order, like which are the worst, which are the best. And if I'm a head coach, okay, if I have my choice of all the jobs, and I'm looking at everything, a lot weighs into it, and we have to consider these coaches in a lot of cases have families, and their wives have to, figure into the equation where they want to live. Are they willing to live in a cold weather climate from, for who knows how many years, as opposed to a beautiful climate like, Miami, for example? Miami's an ideal place. You have a nice warm winter as opposed to somewhere like Cleveland where you're going to have blizzards. Okay, so it all figures in. But from a football perspective, I'm looking at the various jobs, and some of these teams you think might be ready to turn the corner, and some not as quickly. And if you're a head coach, you're looking at the quarterback situation. I think that's the first thing all prospective coaches look at: who's the quarterback. If you have a good quarterback situation, like you have in Baltimore, for example, like Lamar Jackson, you're already adopting a Hall of Famer, as opposed to somewhere like Cleveland where you have still that circus is going on. I mean, you can't say Shador Sanders is their starter. He just started games at the end of the season. That's a big difference. Cleveland does not have a starter right now. Arizona, complete uncertainty with Kyler Murray whether he's going to be back. Miami, the beautiful climate place. Who's your quarterback? You can't be committed to Quinn Ewers. Maybe he will be their quarterback in time, the way things are playing out. And you're looking at all the different locations. But to me, the most attractive position would actually be the New York Giants, because I feel they're ready for a breakthrough, because I think they potentially, and they should have had it last year, an elite defense. I think their defense has the personnel where they could step up to be one of the best defenses in the NFL, but you need a coach to bring that out in them. And you look at Malik Neighbors is going to be back, their wide receiver. Jackson Dart, the jury's still out, but he can be developed. You have a lot to work with there. He can be developed, and you need a competent backup, obviously, behind him, which they had last year in Jameis Winston, even though the team was terrible. Scadaboo will be back next year. They still have to address the wide receiver, running back position. But I think that Giant job is most appealing to me, because I think they're ready to take a jump up and win next season. I don't think it's going to be a long time. And I think they have a patient owner. You don't only look at the quarterback. Maybe you look at the owner first. Maybe I stand to be corrected. And John Mara is a very patient guy. He's holding on to arguably the worst GM in the NFL in Joe Shine. Absolutely, he's been a dreadful GM, yet he hasn't gotten fired yet. So you talk about patience. I mean, that's an attractive position. And unless Mike Tomlin resigns at the end of the year, then the Steelers would be a destination place, and that the owners don't fire head coaches. I mean, that would be appealing from that perspective. But I'd say the New York Giants, even though you could make an argument for few other head coaching vacancies.
Sorry about that. I'm not gonna lie, Jack. I like your pick. Not only do you have a good rookie quarterback there, and you got a good sufficient defense, that's talented defense that has a great front four and some decent pieces in the back. You also have weapon and Malik Neighbors. Obviously, you got some draft pick. You got a number 5 draft pick. You can do some great things with that because the top 10 is going to be really good. I'm not going to say great, but there's definitely some really good players that are going to be in the top 10 that'll be a plug and play. So you can probably get another weapon to add to Malik Neighbors, maybe in Cornell Tate or Jordan Tyson or some player like that to be a number 2. Um, and also, that's a great market. It's just a great market. That entices free agents to come play. A lot of players want to come up there and be in New York. It's just a big market. But that's not that was my honorable mention. There are a couple other teams here I think that are far more talented and that are more enticing and more attractive. That would be, that will have a coach that will want to come there and just plug and play pretty much. Just come there and just get behind the driver's seat because there's not much you have to do there. I looked at Baltimore. I think it might be attractive to have like a Lamar Jackson. He's still 29. He's still in his prime. You still got some players there. Maybe Derrick Henry is still there. You can do some more things on defense. I think their defense it's slightly improved this season, but it still stands to get a few more players that might improve that defense. And offensively, maybe another weapon, another tight end, or I know they have Isaiah Likely. I don't know if Mark Andrews is going to be there any longer. I didn't go with them though because this one team is just ready to go. It was just too inconsistent. I like Atlanta being the top team because they're just too talented I mean, every season that I've seen them, I picked them to be the top of the NFC South. And I think who fumbled it was just the coaches, the offensive coach and the offensive coordinator and the head coach just wasn't good enough. And clearly the past record shows who you are. I mean, when Raheem Morris was the defensive coordinator, he was great. When he was a head coach in Tampa Bay, had a terrible record. Not good. It had one good season, and then everything went downhill from there. And the same thing happened to like Dennis Allen in New Orleans. So, I mean, when you look at Atlanta, I mean, to have potentially Michael Penix, I'm not sure if he's the answer for them, considering his injury history and inconsistencies at the position, but he is a talented quarterback. And if, who knows, I know they're restructuring Kirk Cousins' contract. So there's a potential that he either may be getting traded or they may be getting ready to just play another year or two for them. But man, everywhere else, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier as your running back tandem back there, and you got Drake London, Kyle Pitts, who's probably getting ready to get a big contract, and Darnell Mooney. Offensively, they just should be unstoppable. And to coach maybe like Kevin Stefanski come in there and do some great things with them. 2-time coach of the year. I know he didn't have all the weapons that he needed in Cleveland, and there were some questionable things that he's done, but I mean, all coaches, I've seen Sean Payton make some questionable calls in time management. I think there's still great potential with him. And then also in Seattle, Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, he was in New Orleans too for a short time. He averaged 28.5 points a game with Sam Darnold and company up there. So he may have a potential to do something with that team down there in Atlanta. And trust me, I'm a NFC South fan, but I'm a football fan, and I like to analyze the game. And I just think that this team could do some great things with the right guy at the helm. Vance Joseph, a defensive coordinator, but I think they would stand to do better with an offensive coach. But their defense too. I mean, James Pierce Jr. had 10.5 sacks as a rookie. They got a bright future there. I mean, Jalon Walker is another guy as his bookend, and they're back in. They're safeties. They got a great safety tandem right now with AJ Terrell is an All-Pro. They're a shutdown corner. You have D. Alford as the other guy. Then you have Jesse Bates Jr. as their safety. He's an All-Pro. And that rookie, man, was it Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame? 96 tackles, 5 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, 2 tackles for loss, and 11 pass defense. He's a candidate for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Quietly, nobody. I mean, if you haven't been watching, I mean, devastating safety and cost some interception. I think he's one of the ones caught the interception on Matthew Stafford when they played him. Man, incredible. So if I'm a coach or a coaching candidate, especially with no GM there, I want to see who you're going to bring in the building. Or if I'm a coach, I might ask to allow me to take over that responsibility. Atlanta looks like the ideal spot to me. That would be the place I would want to go if I'm a innovative and young head coach coming in there.
Yeah, but the question's the quarterback position. We mentioned before. That's the thing. You look at the owner, you look at the quarterback. Those two things stand out first and foremost. Arthur Blank is okay on balance. He doesn't seem to have a quick trigger firing coaches, but he doesn't stay with them too long. Raheem Morris did win his last 4 games. It's ironic that you could say he did a better job last year than Kevin Stefanski, but give me Kevin Stefanski ahead of Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris does not have a successful head coaching history from his time at Tampa Bay and the job he did at Atlanta, but they did win a few in a row. So maybe they should have stayed with Raheem Morris. Maybe they were building on something. Maybe they saw wasn't the answer. But between Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins, big question marks. Kirk Cousins is no more than putting on a very good Band-Aid on something. Now, he's not the player he was. He's a good bridge quarterback, I think, at this point. And Michael Penix, he's erratic and he's hurt. He's hurt. How long can you wait for guys like him and J.J. McCarthy to see the field? I mean, he could have all the potential in the world. I mean, we talked in the past about Anthony Richardson. Maybe he could ultimately be a good quarterback, but the guy doesn't see the field a lot of the time for whatever reason. No one's blaming them for that. It's just the way it is. And Michael Penix was a little erratic when he was in. So, yeah, they have all these weapons. But compare that to the Giants, potential pass rush and front line of Britt Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter, Thibodeau. I mean, that's a pretty awesome front. I can't find a better front four than that in the whole NFL. If you want to get
that, put them at the number 5 overall pick in the draft with that talent.
They need a good coach, but you mentioned you get the right receiver. The kid from Ohio State. I mean, and you put him opposite Malik Neighbors, and all.
Don't get me wrong. It's a good setup.
Offense. Man, it's starting to look maybe potent if you can put 2 Rolls-Royce wide receivers in there at the same time.
Yeah, Richard, I like Brian Flores as a potential for a lot of teams, honestly, and I think his discipline would give some teams like in New York maybe if that job was available for him. They probably wouldn't go with them, and he probably wouldn't go with them considering the situation.
He would go with them in the snap of the finger. He was a New Yorker. That was his childhood.
Yes, but that's one of the teams that he's considering in his lawsuit.
He's suing. Why would they want a guy like him? I'm going to hire him, and then in 5 years I'm going to have to move on from him, and he's going to sue me. I mean, come on. I mean, he did it to him. Brian Flores. I always spoke well of him at Miami. I thought he was a brilliant young coach. And I think he's done an excellent job as the Viking defensive coordinator. He'd absolutely be one on my short list of top candidates, if not number 1 overall, if I had to hire a coach. But do I really want to deal, with a guy, who I think he crossed the line with what he did. Now, look, but maybe time goes by, we could let it go. There could be forgiveness. From what I understand, his lawsuit is still going on. So I'm going to hire a head coach who's suing my fellow owners right now.
The only problem is supposedly there's some merit to what he was saying. It's just a lot of things that he's claiming. And it may, whether you believe it or not, it's just what things that can he prove. And I think there are some things that they're looking at like, okay, this should happen. And so it's just, and then of course the situation with John Gruden is just they're not, the NFL has to be held culpable for some things that they've done, So
Yeah, of course.
it's just the unfortunate thing that you're still trying to work in the same entity while complaining about what you've done to me.
Well,
I
Flora,
get it.
You ain't messing with the Shield, that's for sure. That's just not happening. I don't care if the NFL has all kinds of faults. You're not messing with the Shield. So
Right.
Flores won't get a head coaching job just because of that fact, and Gruden will never, ever get a coaching job in the NFL. Ever.
Right. But with that said,
you get a radical owner who could say, "Screw it, I'm doing my own thing."
I mean, yeah, you could do that, but then you'd have everybody turn against you.
I don't know how strongly the owners would feel. If Flores got a job, I don't think a lot of the owners would lose sleep over it. A lot of the other owners, some would get a little.
It would, to answer his question, it would definitely be Flores. Probably
not the enemy.
Not be enemy. No.
The enemy, I don't think. Flores, I think, is going to be a head coach again someday. That's my feeling. And I'm fine with it if he got it. But right now, I was put off by his conduct. That's just me talking, Personally, I was put off by it. But listen, if the Jets hired Flores as a head coach, I wouldn't be upset about it because I think the team would improve. So I would be okay. I would be actually a little excited about it, despite Flores' character issues. Bieniemy, how could a head coach really be? He didn't call the plays with the Chiefs. And if Bieniemy was that revered in Kansas City when he was let go by Washington, he was like their whatever coordinator there. He wouldn't be the Chicago Bear running back coach. The Chiefs would have hired him back. If not their offensive coordinator, they would have made up some creative role to just bring him back to the family there, the Kansas City Chief family. And they didn't do it. I'm sure they liked Bieniemy, but not to the point where he had an impact.
I think everybody knew that Andy Reid was the guy that was orchestrating everything there. Given the evidence coming out of the Philadelphia Eagles, you knew that he was the guy that was calling the shots offensively there, and not Eric Bieniemy. And it showed probably in his interview process, unfortunately. But look, I do think Brian Flores could be another head coach again, given what he's done in Miami, considering what he had that last year and how he had them coming back. But not having to tank games and your owner wanting you to lose games and stuff like that. And
we don't know. Well, we don't know. That's
allegedly. That's what he allegedly. I'm not going to say it's not true. I'm not going to say it's true, but I'm not going to say it's not true either. I'm just saying.
Listen, anyone can make an accusation about whatever.
True. He could be lying, but at the same time, he is suing for a reason, And so, but with that said, the ideal place for him, for Flores, I think would be Baltimore, to work with Lamar Jackson and to get that defense shored up a lot better than what they are. To have a quarterback like that, you need a defense to match him on the other side. And I think Brian Flores will have the discipline.
I love him as a coach, and despite what I say, if I were the owner of the Ravens, James, and you were working on my staff part of the organization, you might be able to talk me into hiring Brian Flores, despite his character issues.
Yeah.
But his character can't be any worse than Lane Kiffin, can it? Okay.
I don't think I'd put him in the same light as Lane Kiffin. And he's the coach of my LSU Tigers.
Can I just very quickly, Brian, before you answer, quick detour? Did Dante Moore's draft stock drop dramatically based on yesterday's performance, guys?
I would say dramatically, because that team. I'm not going to say he's the number one pick overall either. I've been seeing mock drafts that have him as the number one pick.
let me cut in and make it clear. Instead of the Jets taking him at number 2 overall, can we wait till number 16 and still get him now? If we wanted
No.
him.
I
No.
think that you would have to include the combine. Yeah, I think he needs to redeem himself with like a combine show or what do you call those things when they do their own when they go, with their team. What is it called? I forgot. I can't even think of it. I'm having a brain fart right now.
Who's that?
But when players instead of them going to the combine, they go to their own school and do their showing. Forgot what it's called. Sorry.
Oh, the workouts or
it's called it's got a name. Yeah.
It's got a name,
Yeah. I can't even think about it. But anyway, it's Saturday morning. Yes, he's gonna have to showcase his talents. Yes, he's gonna have to showcase exactly. He's gonna have to showcase his talents a little bit more to consider himself the number 2 overall. But I don't think that'll deter because he's still the second best quarterback of all the quarterbacks that are being taken. Unless there's somebody that's going to be some Jamarcus Russell surprise at the combine that some goofball team or ownership and GM is going to want to take a flyer on. But no, I still think Dante Moore. Honestly, I'll be honest with you, this class is not great. I didn't have him as a second pick overall, but I think that's just where people have them. I think Mendoza is probably still the number 1 guy, and that's it. And I wouldn't. But that's saying a lot because I don't think he's like Keith Engel says. This class is not that great, and he's the best of good quarterbacks. A handful of good quarterbacks, not great.
And you know what? It doesn't really make a difference at the end of the day what we feel about what the draft picks are and who they should be, because like Jack said, some idiot team will take somebody too high in the first place, and that's just the way it goes. And like I said, he won't make it to 16 because somebody will be quarterback hungry and say, yeah, he's good. What I saw from him last night, I mean, you immediately throw a pick 6. Come on, dude. You're not reading the defenses right immediately. So
that was a bad read.
That was a bad read, and he needs to. That's something you have to do in the NFL. Okay, you got to make good reads. A lot of good quarterbacks in the NFL do throw bad picks sometimes. This is true, but it's not showing up well if you're trying to come into the NFL. I think that did drop him a little bit in the draft if you were just kind of measuring up to Mendoza, because he was kind of the 1A and Mendoza was the 1B before that, and I think they just switched, to tell you the truth.
I thought Mendoza was ahead of him. No, I think Mendoza would be going to the Raiders, and he held on to that number 1 yesterday. I think if the game wasn't played, I think everyone has Mendoza going to the Raiders, unless Tom Brady is going to be so involved to the point where he could talk the organization out of Mendoza if he wanted to. I mean, but I told you guys before, I love Trinidad Chambliss. He's going to ultimately turn out to be the best QB in this draft. Mendoza is going to be good his first year, but Trinidad Chambliss, I think, is going to be, a perennial, Pro Bowler. I just feel he's going to be outstanding. Case closed.
Look, look. I don't know what people probably thought the same thing. Again, my comp is Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson played. I mean, you're a fan of Michigan. You watched him at I'm pretty sure at Wisconsin, and this guy was a baseball player as well. And I think
really good athlete.
Yes, he was very good, man. And I think this kid kind of falls in that scope, man. I think he's really, really talented. I have to agree with Jack, but I don't think because of where he came from, Ferris State. And then his 1 year, he's only had like one true year of. I mean, he came off the bench to take over somebody's position, kind of sort of like what Russell Wilson did when he in training camp when he got drafted 3rd round draft pick. He took Matt Flynn's job. Matt Flynn was put there that same year on a brand new contract, and Russell Wilson took his job, and that's all she wrote. I wouldn't be surprised if this kid gets drafted in the same way in the 2nd or 3rd or 4th round, and some team finds out what kind of talented player that he is, and next thing you know, Trinidad Shamblers is on his way as well. So
But guys, you're risking waiting. If the Jets didn't pick him at number 2 overall, if he comes out this year, he's appealing his situation. Is he going to be that number 16 in the first round? The way you're talking, you'll assume, yeah, he'll be that number 16. You take someone like Arvell Reese, number 2 or whatever. You take Ruben Bain, number 2, and then you figure you can take Trinidad Shambliss at number 16. But a team like Arizona might outsmart you, and they might jump on him immediately. You're risking things, and if you take him too quick, you're missing out on one of those great elite defensive players.
Look, there's all sorts of excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. That was a tough one. Look, there are all sorts of media outlets, pundits, podcasts, guys that are going to put his name out there because not just you, Jack, people who are real true analysts are going to see the talent that he has. So he's going to climb the draft stock, and when he gets invited to the combine, and he does his own. I still can't think of it. Oh my goodness, his own showing.
Something day.
Oh, pro day. There we go. Thank you. You helped me out right there. His own pro day. Mm-hmm. If he does his own pro day, because he got, just so you all know, his waiver got declined yesterday. Mm-hmm. If Jackie, you didn't know that, he was trying to get a waiver to play. It got declined.
Well, that's why he's appealing. That's why he might wind up in the NFL draft.
Oh, he's going to, without a doubt, because the talent pool of quarterbacks is limited, to say the least, for 2026. And so he's up there, and he did himself some favors by playing like a star in the playoffs. And if that receiver catches the ball, we're talking differently. They're still playing in the championship. It was just that close of a game against Miami. So, I think he had part of it was because of him. Now, mind you, if Miami's DBs have some great hands, the game's over because he threw 3 egregious passes, which happened, like B said. But I think that wouldn't stop me from drafting him if I felt he filled my offense. But could I get him later is the question. I think most teams. I think you're gonna have to look and see what teams would need what, and you may be able to get somebody and maybe trade up for him in the second or third. But I don't think he's a first round draft pick though, Jack. And I just think only not because of talent. Because again, if he goes out and shows out he can play, we do a redo in the draft, a revisited draft, he probably becomes a first round draft pick. But just the way teams think, I don't see him, getting picked right away. But maybe, it just depends. Because I think like Keith Engel said, the draft pool period in the first round is just very good to good. It's not like elite. Somebody's a blue chipper coming off the bat in the top 10. There's nobody that looks like they're going to come off and just set the world on fire immediately. They just look like very good players that you can plug and play and be good starters, or some that may change into all pros and stuff like that. But I don't see anybody. Too, I agree with them. I don't see anybody that looks like they're going to be all pro off the bat. That's just an immediate person. And I want to say one more thing. Jack, you mentioned, and I know we got to go. You mentioned the quarterback situation in Atlanta. I think that a Band-Aid or bridge until you can get a quarterback is still a good job to me because of the talent that's there. That's all I'm going to say on that.
All right, just real quick thing, getting off this topic, which we kind of did.
Yes.
I have a list from 1 to 7 of the teams that I feel that are good destinations. Number 1 is Atlanta. I agree with you, James. That's a ready-made team, basically. You just need a really good coach to come in there and get that done. Number 2 is Baltimore, because Baltimore is kind of a ready-made team, too. They just need some help on defense, getting that defense together like it used to be, because Baltimore's known for that. Number 3 would be Jack's Giants. Well, not Jack's Giants, but the Giants. They have a lot of potential, too. I think they need a right coach to get that potential out of them. That defense needs to play way better than they played this year. Way better. And there's too much talent on that defense for that not to be happening. Number 4 is Arizona. Arizona actually has really good players on there. The problem is Gannon. I don't know what happened with Gannon. He had all that talent on there, and then it just he was worse than he was last year, and that's why he's got fired. So it's going to kind of be the same thing with AG and the Jets. If he does worse than he did this year, yeah, I would kick him off the can too. Number 5, I got Tennessee. Now Tennessee needs some work. They need some players. But that's up to the GM to help them out. They got a good quarterback. They got a franchise quarterback. He's solid. He ain't elite. He's okay. But they got somebody to work with. That's the least of their worries right now is a quarterback. They got to get everybody else around him. Number 6 is Las Vegas. Las Vegas is kind of good. If they got I don't know what happened to the coaching in that either. I don't know if it was Pete Carroll. I don't know if it was the players that didn't respect his age. I don't know what was going on with Las Vegas. They got some pieces in there. I think get the right coach in there. They should be fine. Actually, that's number 6. Number 5 is Miami. And number 7 is Cleveland. I don't know who the hell wants to go coach that team. But I would tell you that they would need a young coach to go there. And I'm talking about a coach that was like an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator at one time, not a head coach. They need somebody that is new to the job. So I would think they would do that. Just the fact they can blame him for everything. All said and done in Cleveland, because you know how Cleveland is. They're all over the place. They don't know. That franchise is a mess. So if they get a young head coach in there that was a coordinator or something, then he'd be fine. If they move Schwartz up to head coach, what do you think about that?
He was a head coach. He was saying, didn't he go 1-15 with the Lions? I mean,
no, that wasn't Schwartz. No, actually, Schwartz took him to the playoffs. They played Dallas. Schwartz was a coach when Dallas. Was it Schwartz? Yeah.
No, Schwartz. They had a terrible record. Yeah. Remember that famous?
When he got them, they had a terrible record. That's when he had Sue. That's when he had a pliable defense. He had a really good defense at that time. Well, a better defense. I wouldn't say really good. It was a top 5 defense. Yeah. And then they went into Dallas, and that's when Stafford was playing, and Calvin Johnson and Nate Burleson and all them cats were playing.
I mean, wouldn't you rather
Reggie
go
Bush,
with someone who wasn't given an opportunity yet, like maybe a Chris Shula? You don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Somehow these recycled coaches, sometimes they have success the second time around. That's something we should maybe put our heads together if there's a gap of time on one of the shows. These coaches who didn't do well their first time around with a team, their second act. Obviously, the most successful one was Bill Belichick after being a Browns head coach going to New England. But how do these coaches actually do on their second job? Whether they were successful or not the first time around, even though Todd Andy Reid was successful with the Eagles the first time around and a lot more successful with Kansas City. But what about a guy like Raheem Morris when he wasn't successful at Tampa Bay and now it wasn't really successful at Atlanta on balance? Todd Bowles wasn't successful with the Jets. Kind of iffy with Tampa Bay the second time around. I mean, that's an interesting thing to look at second acts, how they've turned out.
Yeah. I think the track record that Raheem Morris has right now is not a very good one. I don't think he's an attractive head coaching position type of guy for any team right now. Maybe DC, most definitely. But I mean, look at his track record. He had we've been preaching this the whole season. Atlanta should not have been in the position they were in. No. So
if Raheem Morris gets interviewed, it's because of the affirmative action NFL policy. That really would be the only reason. Could you imagine the Commanders actually hiring him? Anyone, the fan base would get annoyed. They want to get excited. You want to get a little excited about a head coaching hire. Listen, a guy like Mike McDaniel, at least he's charismatic. I'm not saying I would hire him. Don't get the idea that I would. But at least he makes for good copy, good quotes, he's entertaining. Raheem Morris might be a wonderful human being, but he's not entertaining per se. He's just another, head coach. But Mike McDaniels, he's a personality that they could have fun with.
I mean, yeah, you're there to win games, though. You're not there to be doing a horse and pony show. You know what I'm saying?
Wanted the Alliance as the offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
let me say
because of his personality, because he's a very good offensive coordinator. It's got nothing to do
I agree with
it.
that. I agree with that. But let me say those two guys you just mentioned, both of them should not be head coaches at this year at all. They should definitely be back to their coordinator position. I wouldn't dare look at them for a head coaching job. Like you said, Jack, affirmative action for sure. If he gets fired.
Raheem Morris's case. I mean, Brian Flores, let me just backtrack, I think is a very attractive candidate for pure coaching, really, to hire him. He would be on my short list.
For sure.
He has the baggage. That's the problem. But Raheem Morris, I'm not saying down the road shouldn't, if he reinvents himself. Everyone should have a chance to reinvent themselves. Listen, if we want charisma, you could bring Rex Ryan back. Supposedly, he kind of wants back in. I mean, and he would be an excellent defensive coordinator somewhere.
Yeah, they'd definitely have to put a filter on cameras because his teeth, like, ooh.
All right, gentlemen, let's go to the next question.
Next one. Should the Dallas Mavericks trade Anthony Davis? Go ahead, James. I'm gonna give you that one.
Yeah, this is look. I thought this would be a easy answer to this question because he's always been injury prone and he's still injury prone. I mean, his left hand is the latest thing. But then I thought, like, wow, when he's on, he's on. I mean, even at 30, he's about to be 33 in March, and now his point percentage has dropped down from 24 to 20 points per game, but he still averages 11 rebounds and 3 assists, and so he's defensively, he gives you some great defensive moments out there. But again, he's 33, and I'm thinking, like, okay, you got this young player in Cooper Flag. You got an older player in Kyrie Irving who still might not be playing this year in 26 at all, recovering from an ACL. So the goal was to have all three of those guys on the floor, and so far it's a no-show. So the trade deadline is February 5th, I believe, and I'm thinking, yeah, it is February 5th, 3 p.m. Eastern time. I ship him off if I can get something, especially if a team has interest like Atlanta, the Hawks have interest in him, and see what I can get, recoup a first rounder like you gave to the Lakers, and get something out of it. Because this is somebody, if he were somebody that's been healthy up to this point from the beginning to now, I would say keep him and they're winning because right now they're 14-24. I mean, what are you going to do with him? When he's on the court, they're still losing, and he just got hurt again. I've mentioned to you guys before. This is a guy that gets hurt tying his laces together. So I just think that potentially there's just nothing there. I don't see the potential, especially somebody who gets older the closer they get to you as you look at them. And so he's older. He's long in the tooth. He's still talented, but see what you can get while he's still talented. See what you can get from him, and that's all I got on that. I think he should be traded.
I'm going to say this. I don't know what James's portfolio is. It's none of my business, and I personally don't care at all in the slightest. But if James has any stocks, when the market is doing really poorly, James strikes me as a personality who's going to start panicking and want to sell off all his stocks at that moment. You have to stay the course. Stay the course. This would be the worst time for the Mavs to try to sell off Anthony Davis because his value would be at its lowest right now because he's been hurt. The team's aware that this is a great player, averaging over 20 points a game, over 11 rebounds a game. The Mavs are only 2 games out of a play-in position. And with Kyrie Irving coming back, Anthony Davis, if he gets healthy and Kyrie Irving is back, Cooper Flag continuing to ascend into really one of the best players in the NBA. He's not that right now, but we all know with Cooper Fleck is going to be that. He's only going to get better and better and better. And he's going to be a better player come playoff time than he is right now. And the other pieces the Mavs have too. I mean, they got Max Christie as part of that Anthony Davis deal. He's a starter. He's a good player. And they got, a fairly decent bench too. Stay the course. See what you could do this year. You could always trade Anthony Davis in the offseason. James has been well. They could maybe recoup a number one draft choice. This isn't the NFL, James. Teams in the NBA are going to trade 5 number ones to get a Giannis. They don't regard number ones being as valuable in the NBA as they do in the NFL. I mean, it sounds good. Oh, a number one draft choice. I mean, who gives a darn? You're going to get what? The 18th college player? Who knows how he's going to be? They don't turn franchises around. You should see that with your Pelicans, Jeremiah Fears. I mean, who's just so. That's why, Joe Dumars had the right idea to get a talent like Derek Quinn. He gave up an extra number one and he was ridiculed for it. And guess what? It looks like a heck of a deal by Joe Dumars.
No, of course.
Player, so he gave up an extra player who knows how good he would have been, that extra player. Anthony Davis is a great player. He's hurt all the time. You're not going to get big value for him. Wait. If you're going to get value back for him now, some serious value, yeah, make the deal, but you're not going to get it. The Hawks.
I think they are going to get value. To me, you said something about me and my portfolio and what my stock is, and I'm going to put it. Let's do a different analogy. Anthony Davis is like a 2017 Mercedes, and he drove nice while he was working, but then he had problems. The under the hood, there's been some multiple issues here. And so now, as a car gets older and it has problems, it depreciates. It continues to depreciate. I want to get a little bit more value while he's still got a few miles. He's got some miles on him now. I want to get him something while I can, especially if a team that needs a player. Atlanta, a team that just shifted off Trae Young to the Wizards, I think they won without him, but they don't have a leader there. They need somebody that could be there, and they're interested in Anthony Davis. If somebody wants to buy that Mercedes that has the problem and they're willing to pay for him, why not? I can get somebody else. I can get another player before the trade deadline to come in. And because, again, I don't have Kyrie Irving. I would say keep him if Kyrie Irving was going to play. But Kyrie Irving's another one that's 33 years old, and he's slowly recovering from his ACL. So I'm missing a couple star players here that we were setting our minds to say these guys should be playing, and we can try to make a run for the playoffs. But we're not making a run for anything at 14-24.
But past this year, the NBA is not ending this year. You got next year. And
that's my point, Jack. They're both getting a year older. They're both a year older by the time they come back for next season.
At the end of this season, there are going to be a few franchises who are going to be extremely disappointed with how their team did. There are going to be a few of them. They're going to look to make changes. And if Anthony Davis comes back, he plays well at some point, which is iffy. We don't know whether he will or won't. But if he does, okay, some team is going to want to step up and take a chance, trade for Anthony Davis. In the offseason, I'll give you an example, just a very loose example. Let's say Anthony Davis comes back, he plays well, the Mavs get eliminated at some point. And the Knicks get eliminated. They don't go to the Eastern Conference Finals, let's say, or don't get to the NBA Finals. They might decide, we'll do a bold move. We'll trade Karl Anthony Towns for Anthony Davis, something like that. A deal like that's realistic, actually. But right now, they're not going to get value, the Mavs. Give me an idea in your head what a team might give player-wise for Anthony Davis right now.
What you just mentioned, if the Knicks gave up Karl Anthony Towns for Anthony Davis, they're heading down south. I just don't know in management. There'd be no
Not
way.
now. They wouldn't do it now. They wouldn't do it right now. But the Knicks are going to make moves in the off season if the Pistons knock the Knicks off in the playoffs, which could happen this year. You know, they go against one another. The Knicks are not going to stand pat for the following year. They're going to try to make some bold move.
There's a reason that was it Nico, the guy, the GM for the
Nico
Harrison got fired. You made one of the worst trades in NBA history, and to a rival, an interconference rival. That didn't make any sense at all. It's just a dumb move. I don't know who I would trade and give up players for Anthony Davis, but if somebody wants to do it, then I'm going to be interested and see what it is, because again, as great as Anthony Davis is, he's just never on the floor. And that's just not helping you out at all as a team especially you trying to help a young player and Cooper Flagg try to improve on, what he's doing. And he's out there by himself pretty much which, like you said, the Dallas they have good pieces there. They have really good pieces there. But you need a star or superstar out there to be to win. You do. And it's just not happening there. And I don't know who he traded. I'm just thinking if Atlanta's interested, I'm going to go ahead and make that move.
You don't know what you're getting, James, in return. You'll just make the move. You got to know what you're getting.
It does. I mean, I'll try to get a first round, 2 first rounds, and maybe a couple of players that you have there. I'm not sure, but I'm just saying, I don't think Anthony Davis is going to do anything to make it any worse. I could move forward just because we're not going to get any better this year is what I'm saying. We're not going to get any better. So I would just not say tank, but just regroup and readdress. I mean, because all this is Nico Harrison's team still. This is all it's doing. That's what's there.
Can you imagine that Kyrie comes back healthy at the top of his game, Anthony Davis gets healthy, he's at the top of his game, and everything comes into place and the Mavs win the NBA championship. How would imagine that. How would the Dallas Maverick fans react if Nico Harrison is introduced to them before a game? Would they boo? Would they cheer? Would they just be numb, quiet? I think they'd just be quiet. I think that you couldn't boo him if that happened, but I don't think they'd ever cheer for him.
Unfortunately for you, Jack, that I don't live in La La Land, so that won't happen. So I'm not even worried about that whole situation.
Okay, you got me.
As far as Anthony Davis is concerned, I mean, if they can trade him to somebody that wants him, I mean, I'm with James on that. Hey, get him. Should they trade him? Yeah, if they can get something for him, if they can get somebody of value or picks or players of value, yes, they can do that. And Dallas isn't really going anywhere anyway. Unfortunately for Cooper Flagg, because Cooper Flagg is starting to pick his game up, and he's being the guy on the team now. He's the man right now. So I just it is what it is. Teams got to make moves. If they feel they can make a move to make their team better in the future, then they're going to do it. And right, best ability is availability. And it kind of reminds me of the Zion Williamson situation. Zion Williamson, he's out there, he balls out. But AD does the same thing. But you got to be out there in the court. You're not making a difference when you're not there.
And to ask if the Dallas Mavericks should trade him, this is still AD is still a reminder of what Nico Harrison did. He is the big proponent of what happened as the Lakers are still winning, even though they're not great on defense and they lose against great teams, but they're still 23 or 24-12 or something like that. And these guys are the opposite with the guy that's not on the court often. And you fired the coach because of that, what happened. And now you're in a situation where maybe you just want to go scot-free and start from scratch with Cooper Flagg and potentially Kyrie Irving or maybe somebody else. I don't know. It just depends, man. But I think, he should go. It's not a good situation anymore.
Let's see here. What can we fill some time up here? Because we only got 10 minutes left.
Yeah, let's do the we could
You
debate
got to
on the
reel
wanna
us
do the tight
in.
ends with
Brian, it's your job to reel us in if we're too long on a topic. It's not James in my position. It's your job to do that.
I know I let you guys go because you guys got about a lot of information that's informative, so I let you go. Believe me, I'll tell you to shut up if we got to go to the next one.
The first question was a great question.
Yeah,
the first question was a really great question.
And it branched off into a whole bunch of other things, so that's your fault, Jack. Anyway, let's see here. Okay, we'll do a real quick one on this one. We'll kind of do a 1A and a 1B part on this one. We could do the 1A right now and do the 1B in the next show. But who was the dominant tight end who is the most dominant tight end in the NFL history? Who do you think?
There might be a little difference, James, between dominant and best. I mean, I don't know how we distinguish that. There have been a number of great tight ends. I mean, I've seen the tight ends from years ago. There's a great one in John Mackey on the Baltimore Colts.
He's in my top 10. He's in my top 10.
Right. I mean, but you notice there's a little bit of a pattern. These great tight ends on the short list usually have great quarterbacks. John Mackey had Johnny Unitas, one of the all-time great quarterbacks, even though people don't mention his name as such because he was very early and he was before the Super Bowl era as well. I mean, Shannon Sharp, he had John Elway. I mean, Travis Kelce had Patrick Mahomes. Rob Gronkowski had Tom Brady. With that, I'd say the most dominant to me is Rob Gronkowski, because if I was a defensive player, he would strike the most fear in me. The guy is so hard to bring down. The guy's a monster. Travis Kelce is great, but Travis Kelce finesses you. George Kittle kind of finesses you. Shannon Sharp was a pretty physical tight end. I give him that. And I could, I'm not going to go down all the tight ends. We have a limited amount of time, but Rob Gronkowski, his physicality does it for me because he was the most physical tight end to me. In all due respect to Mike Ditka, Rob Gronkowski was the most physical tight end in NFL history. So hard to break down, and he had good hands on top of it, very good hands. He gets my vote.
I would have had Rob Gronkowski in my top 2 because of how physical he was. Just like you said, everything you said was right. 92 TDs, 9,000 yards total. But what, to me, the most dominant while he played, I think he as great as he was often injured. He had he had to go throwing to him too. My criteria was that, like you mentioned, the quarterback, who's throwing to them. I had my top 10. I'm going from 10 down to 1. Jimmy Graham was number 10. Antonio Gates, number 9. Kellen Winslow, number 8. Travis Kelce, number 7. Ozzie Newsome, number 6. Mike Ditka, number 5. I had Rob Gronkowski, number 4. John Mackey, because at that time, there's a reason why there's an award named after him. He was just like a difference. Like the guy that fast, that big, he played different positions. He returned kicks. He ran the ball some. It was just, I remember that play in the Super Bowl where he got that deflection and ran 75 yards for a touchdown, jumping over guys and stuff like that. It was just impressive. Tony Gonzalez, I got as number 2 because the quarterback play. He didn't. I don't know if there's a Hall of Fame quarterback besides Joe Montana that threw to him outside of anybody else. Most of these guys had Hall of Fame quarterbacks except like Mike Ditka. Well, he did play for Dallas, but still.
Antonio Gates didn't either.
And Tony, well, he's going to have one. He'll be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, you're talking about Hall of Famers now. He's not.
Yeah, now. Yeah, Antonio Gates and to me, those guys are him and Tony Gonzalez were basketball players too. That's what makes them great as well. Shannon Sharp is number 1 for me, man. He's number 1 because he was most of these guys were 6'5", 6'6". Shannon Sharp, if you know his stature, he's a big wide receiver. He was 6'2", and he was great off the block. He was great knocking guys on their back, and he was a great wide receiver catch. He was a top target for John Elway. Like you said, he had a guy throwing to him, but he was an Iron Man. He played him and Tony Gonzalez were Iron Man. Tony Gonzalez almost every year that he played in 17 years, he played 16 games, man. Started 16 games, except 1 year he had 15 games where he didn't. He played 16 games, but he didn't start one, which is crazy to me. And you look at him now, he's still a marvel. He's still like in shape, man. Those guys, and him and Shannon Sharpe. And I think Shannon was the first to get to 10,000 yards. He was the first to do a lot of things. And that's why I look at it, him being dominant during that time, because of how he pioneered during that time and set the path for a lot of other guys to follow.
Travis Kelce, number 7. I mean, if you know the problem. I think you've been hanging out with
another. No. Hold on. Let me say this. Another one of my criterias was eras. The defensive era is a lot different now than it is what it was back then. You couldn't do a lot of things that you can do now that as an offensive player because of how watered down.
You could also take tons of cheap shots then. Even on offense or whatever, you could, Shannon Sharpe was a wonderful blocker. He was a better blocker than, the other guys you mentioned. And that was more important at that time. It's still important for tight end to block, but it was more important in the past eras. Shannon Sharpe rates up there. Yeah, he would be in my top few. But number 1, there's merit to what you're saying, okay? But okay, it's all an opinion. I can't force you on that.
Kelce was more. Kelce was
a little too low.
I kind of understand that one because Kelce's more of a finesse player. He's not more of a grit player. And for this date and time, that would be I would have to.
Jimmy Graham's my own guy out of New Orleans, and I had him at the bottom. Because he was more of a receiver than he was a true tight end.
Yeah, I think the thing about tight ends in any era, they are all tough. They're all tough. I still think Kelce is not real tough, but I think everybody else on that list that you had there, James, is a tough tight end. They blocked. They were gritty out there. I've seen Gonzalez. I've seen all these tight ends. Well, except for Mackey, I haven't actually personally seen him, but
right.
I've seen film of him, and he was a brute too. He was a brute out there, along with Mike Ditka. Those were brute, tight ends at that time and at that age. I don't think you'd want to be facing them as a defender, and they're coming down on you in those ages because you didn't have the equipment that you have now. You'd be black and blue, broken bones, whatever, facing those fellas. But I'm personal to Antonio Gates. Antonio Gates is from here. He was a really good basketball player. He really didn't have any football. He really wasn't a football player at all. He wasn't a football player at all. And they changed him into a tight end, and the dude just took off. He was another guy that was a brute grit guy too. And with your point with Shannon Sharpe, he played with 2 different quarterbacks too. He played with a Hall of Famer, and then he played with Trent Dilfer.
And still was dominant, right? Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
And so my thing is people like Mike Ditka was the first. I had him in the top in the middle somewhere because he was the first guy to hit 1,000 yards as a rookie. And Brock Bowers broke his record last year in 17 games. And so he didn't even. I don't even think he played. Did he play 16 or he played 14? Mike Ditka when he first came. I think it was 14. 14 games, man. 14. So yeah, exactly. So I just you look at all. I looked at a lot of things. Trust me. It's easy to say Rob Gronkowski is the dominant guy but again, he played in the era and I think he left some meat on the table. Only not because of him, but because of his injury, unfortunately, because his body let him down. But that's it. That's all I want to say about that.
Anything else from you, Jack?
No, that's all fine. Good arguments, They can never get settled exactly. I'm only going to say that Brock Bowers, by the time he retires, is going to be on that list. Thank you, Jeff.
Him and Ty Warren. Ty Warren's going to be there too. I think
I
Ty
knew
Warren's
I was
gonna
waiting
be-
on it. I was waiting on him to say the Jets, thinking just for not drafting.
That's how
Hilarious.
stupid these guys are, that I know more than they know. And I said it before the draft, and I said I was going to keep reminding everyone of it when it became a reality and we saw how good Brock Bowers was. They drafted an offensive lineman, very smart.
Well, that's why I told you before, Jack. I'm kind of you got all these number one picks, but it's really how you draft them. I don't have any confidence in your front office drafting, to tell you the truth.
You
That's
draft
the
the
thing.
best players. You don't draft according to need, unless if you have a franchise quarterback. If you have Patrick Mahomes, you don't draft the quarterback on any circumstance.
Right.
Otherwise you draft the best player available. You don't start playing games for need. That's why the Portland Trailblazers drafted Sam Bowie instead of Michael Jordan. Bobby Knight pleaded with the Portland GM to draft Jordan because the Portland GM was Bobby Knight's buddy. And he said, no, I need a center. And Bobby Knight said, then play Jordan at center. Just draft him, stupidity. I mean, these guys.
Yeah, on that note, New York Jets office there. We bid you adieu. Again, thank you from James Martin, Jack Hirsch, and BA. We will catch you tomorrow at 8 a.m. on the Big Football Show. Got a lot of good stuff to talk about there. And then, of course, Jack and Keith and the Weekend Playbook at 7 or 8 p.m. Or 8 a.m. on Monday, and at 7 p.m., Jack and Frank for the Gloved Fist. Until those times, folks, enjoy the rest of your day. Peace out.